Hello everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo, where I want to offer condolences to those of us out there who have spent their entire life waiting for this moment. And when it finally came, it passed you by and left you so defeated. It's the final, I think, the final episode, so to speak, of this series of albums that hooked me. This was a thread that was started, I at least saw it first on Andy Ford's channel. It might have been started by Steve Carlson. But the idea is that you show albums, your intro album, the album that was the gateway to a particular artist or band. And then you started collecting music from them. And there's, some parameters to go with this. One of them being that the artist or band needs to have released at least 4 albums. So a minimum of 4 albums, excluding things like compilations. And then you need to own 3. All right? So that's the restriction. And I've done a video for the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and now I'm into the 2000s. But where I was limiting myself to just 10 artists for the previous decades, well, the 2000s were we're 25 years, we're halfway through the 25th year of this new century, meaning we are in the 3rd decade. So, I'm just gonna do a group of them just for the 2000s. And eventually, I don't think I have enough to actually do for the first decade up to 2010, and then the second decade to 2020, and then, half of this decade. In fact, I have records, from the 2020s, but they don't fit, the parameter, for this particular thread, the rules, so to speak. But rules, they can be broken. But anyway, I'm going to get started. You can see my shelves are getting empty because I am continuing to pack for a major move. And I'm excited about the move. I'm excited about the new place that I'm going to be moving into. But moving sucks. Packing sucks. And then when you get there, the unpacking sucks. It's a little more enjoyable than the packing. I'll say that. But anyway, let's get started. And the first record I'm going to show is this one by Calexico, The Black Light. Now, this album was released in 1998, but I didn't hear it until the 2000s. In fact, I didn't hear it until probably 2023, maybe 2024. All right, that's when I started discovering Calexico. And so that's another thing too. If for like the decade of the 70s, for example, you had to listen to the record in the 70s that you're showing the gateway record. So these are records that I was listening to, in the 2000s. This band started in the late 90s. But I had never heard of them. And I think I've heard Mike at Hub Tunes talk about them. And I've heard Steve Carlson talk about them. I really had not listened to anything. And then I finally decided to check them out. Because part of the allure that attracted me was the fact that they are from Tucson, Arizona. And while they started their music career in the 90s, and I no longer lived in Tucson, I was living there in the late 70s and early 80s. They nonetheless, when I first heard them, and it was this album, completely, to me, captured the personality and the sound of everything, the whole milieu of living in Tucson, Arizona, living in that area of the Sonoran Desert. They capture the qualities of the music, the blend of the mariachi music and cumbia and rock and folk, and they put it together in such a, I'm using a lot of superlatives in describing them, because to me they really are really a very exceptional group of musicians. And in fact, if I consider my top 5 favorite artists right now, Calexico is in that group. And I have a lot of their records, and they have released a lot of their records. And, they have released a lot of records. But yeah, this was the gateway. And it's just so ethereal at times, very atmospheric. And it's not necessarily really, it's powerful music, but it's not powerful because of volume or sonic intensity. It's powerful because of the subtlety of the music, the blending of the styles of music, and the lyrics, and the singing by the lead singer. So yeah, this was my gateway album, Black Light, The Black Light. I mean, there's one song in here where he is singing about going through downtown Tucson late at night and then driving out east through the Rincon Mountains all the way out to the Chiricahuas in the southeast corner of the state. And listening to that, I can visualize that so perfectly because I've done that road trip myself. Although it was in the, as I said, the 70s and the 80s, I've been in downtown Tucson at night. There were some great bars that I used to go to just north of downtown on 4th Avenue. Just absolutely captivating and brilliant descriptions of the entire environment. So Calexico, this was the gateway album. All right. Then moving on to this one here, Tinariwen, and the album is Amassakoul, and this was released in 2003. This is Saharan blues, to some degree Tuareg music. Tinariwen is one of those bands from the northwest region of Africa that plays a very similar style of blues and traditional song that's noted or part of the culture of the Tuareg people and other groups of indigenous people from that region of the desert. I learned about them after I learned about Mdou Moctar, who is also, well, he's from Niger, and he's a absolutely fantastic guitar player, playing the Tuareg music in blues and psychedelic blues, and just totally amazing. He's very much a showman as well with his guitar playing. But that sort of opened this door for me to learn about other musicians from that region of Africa who were playing the similar style of music. And that led me to Tinariwen. And this was the first album. It is, it's like you are in the dunes of the desert. They are a little more understated than Mdou Maktar. There's a little more, perhaps, finesse to their playing, but it is nonetheless absolutely brilliant to me. I mean, you're not going to get stellar and amazing guitar solos, but you are going to get amazing and stellar music from this. And it's a much older group too. These guys have been around. I believe I've done a video about them before, so you can check that out on my channel. But if I remember correctly, they came from Algeria, but they were also part of, the wandering tribes of the Saharan desert, so they combine the musical influence of Algeria, of Mali, and of Niger. But anyway, yes, Tinariwen, the Saharan blues is absolutely fantastic. And I've got quite a few of their albums now. In fact, I also have Moctar, which is another fantastic album of theirs. And then I also have Mdou, which is another fantastic album of theirs. And then I also have Ilana, just incredible music. And Tinariwen, which is one of their earliest releases. I can't remember if this was their first one. But yes, really amazing. And I was fortunate enough to see them here at a very intimate venue here in Chicago at the Old Town School of Music. So yeah, if you like the Saharan blues, if you like Ali Farka Vu Farka, if you like John Lee Hooker, and if you like Mdou Maktar, of course, I would encourage you to check out Tinariwen. All right, the next one here is an American band that never really hit it that big in the United States, but they hit it big time in Britain, and that is Scissor Sisters. The first time I heard them is because of a friend of mine, Benny, who turned me on to them, and I just love it. It's pop, it's glam. It's just Jake Shears has this amazing falsetto voice. Then you got Baby Daddy and Patty Maroon, I think that's his name. And then there's Animatronic, who is one of the singers. She's the one female in the group. Their drummers have changed from time to time. And someone did leave a comment on one of my videos about one of their early drummers. And I can't remember that information right off the top of my head. But except for the drummers, for the most part, everyone, all the other men in the band, like Jake Shears and Baby Daddy and Patty, are gay. And then you've got Animatronic. Her name sounds like she's a drag queen, but she's not. She's a woman. And not that she couldn't be a drag queen, I guess. But yeah, this just fun music. I have a preference really for their second album, but I've got all their albums. But Filthy Gorgeous was a big hit for them, and Lovers in the Backseat, Mary, Laura, Take Your Mama Out All Night, Show Her How to Have a Good Time. Yeah, Comfortably Numb, they did a Pink Floyd. It Can't Come Quickly Enough, which I referenced with my opening quote. Yeah, it's just tits on the radio. It's just excellent record. and now I have their entire catalog. And they are about to get together again. They are starting a tour. They're doing a tour right now in Britain. I believe they're going to be coming to the U.S., so it should be fun. I've been able to see them 3 times. Twice when they were the main act. One was at the Vic Theater. The other one, I think, was at the Riviera. And then I saw them in Boston. They were the opening act for Lady Gaga. All right, next is Antony and the Johnsons. And the album is I Am a Bird Now, which was released in 2004. The debut album for Scissor Sisters was released in 2003. I learned about Antony and the Johnsons from a bartender in Holland, Michigan. And it was one in downtown Holland where I worked at the Holland Sentinel at the time. The offices were downtown. And there were occasions when after work, I would just walk downtown to this restaurant and bar and wine store and have a cocktail and often eat dinner while I was there before going home. And one of the bartenders got along really well, got to know him a little bit. And, we would talk about music from time to time when he wasn't too busy. And then he told me about Antony and the Johnsons. After listening to some of the music that I liked, he suggested I give a listen to Antony and the Johnsons. And when I learned more about Antony and the Johnsons, for one, I was really quite surprised that he recommended this to me. Because I never would have taken him for someone who would listen and enjoy and really like this kind of music, this kind of singer. Antony is a transgendered person with a very, very unique voice. And it's not a voice that is easily, not a voice that's easily accepted. It's an acquired taste. But she has been on David Letterman many times. Saw a lot of the videos, and when I listened to this record, I was completely captivated. I was just amazed by what I was listening to. It was, like nothing I'd heard before. And recently, within the last half year or so, it was last fall, I think. It might have been earlier this year in the winter. But I saw Antony at the Khan Auditorium. Is that where I saw her? Khan Auditorium, yeah, in Evanston. And that was a fantastic, fantastic show. She initially, she didn't identify as a transgender woman. She just identified as transgender and went with the pronouns they. But after 2000, well, I think it was the first term of our current president that she made the decision to just fully embrace her identity as a trans woman. And because she felt like she had to say something, she had to make a statement, and her music became, her music has always been very powerful, but she started making some recording some songs and releasing records that she was being much more direct in her response to what has been going on. And it's fantastic, but yes, I'm going to caution you. This is not for everybody. So you should, go to YouTube or, maybe Spotify and listen to There's Antony and the Johnsons, and then there's her new acquired name is Anone. So you might want to listen first before you rush out and buy anything. But I am a huge fan, and this was the gateway album, and whenever I find something by her, I get it. Okay, now we move on to a Japanese band, Toe. And this album is The Book About My Idle Plot on a Vague Anxiety. It was released in 2005. We got this one on this red vinyl. Toe is a post-rock band, but also is identified as a math rock band. And I know there are some people who just, they don't comprehend or don't understand, well, what's the point of this moniker, math rock? What is that supposed to mean? And I honestly cannot say exactly what it is, but I know it when I hear it. Math rock is like pornography. You know it when you see it. Math rock, you know it when you hear it. And there are other, bands that are categorized as math rock, such as Don Caballero, Polvo, I believe, is within that. And a lot of what King Crimson does is, they're like the progenitors, perhaps, of math rock. But the way I came to discover Toe is when I discovered Slint. And, the term math rock was being, used frequently to describe Slint and that type of music, which most of the time is very percussive. It's you think of a band, what are the lead instruments? It's usually a lead guitar, or it's a piano, or an organ, and then there's often a singer, and the rhythm section is not necessarily the forward experience, but in math rock, the rhythm section drives the music in a different way. They drive the melody. The melody of the song is structured around the percussion, and it's usually a drummer. It doesn't always have to be a drummer, but it's usually a drummer who is the person who is driving the sound, the tempo, the cadence, the character, everything about the song. And the drummer in Toe is just absolutely incredible. So when I was listening to Slint and I was hearing this term, that's when I started doing a search for other math rock bands, and Toe was one of them. And I started listening to them online, and I was just instantly fell in love with what they were doing. And this was my first album that I got in their catalog. I have, they have a newer album that was just released within the last year. They sort of didn't do anything for several years, and then now they've released another one. I don't have that one. Up until that new release, I had their entire catalog. But yeah, Toe is truly amazing. For the most part, instrumental. They have a few songs that have lyrics, have someone singing, but for the most part, it's entirely instrumental. And it's definitely post-rock in style. There's another math rock Japanese band called Mouse on the Keys, where the sound leans more to the jazz side of things. Because you've got, again, a phenomenal drummer, but instead of guitars, as you do in Toe, you have keyboards in Mouse on the Keys. And but again, it's just really, really amazing music. And this was my gateway album into the band Toe. All right, now this was a band that it was a blind buy. And that band is Spoon, and the album is Transference from 2009. And I was just, I was in this record store in Pittsburgh and flipping through records, and I saw this cover, and I was intrigued by the cover. Probably, well, I still do think the boy is cute. And I asked the guy in the store about it, and he, like, I don't know who they are. It's some indie rock band. So I thought, what the hell, I'll buy it. And I did. Took it home and listened to it, and I just really, really like it. Now, this particular record apparently is kind of an anomaly in their catalog. It's not really like any of their other albums, and it's also kind of a deconstruction of their style in some respects. So while this might be one of their lesser liked albums, I really, really like it. So when I started picking up their some of their other albums, then it was like, wow, yes, this is great stuff. So yeah, Spoon. So this is one that I just kind of a blind buy. They've got a lot of records. They've been around since the 90s. They're from Texas. And I think I have 4 of their releases now, and this was the first one. Now, this one here, this is Villagers, and this is Becoming a Jackal. And Villagers is primarily one person, Conor O'Brien, Irish singer-songwriter. And I first heard of them just, how you go through the feed, the YouTube, the recommendations. And I was probably listening to some similar type of music, and Villagers was served up as an option, and it was the song Becoming a Jackal. And I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's kind of, it's folk music to a degree, but I just really like Conor O'Brien's songwriting, his lyricism. It is at times, I feel like he's expressing a sense of depression. There's a part of me that thinks that he's battled with depression, or maybe even is still battling with depression. And, that's, to some degree, I feel like I battle with it as well. Although I do like a more recent description of depression. And that is, it's not really so much, there is severe depression that is a mental illness. But the situational depression that perhaps many of us feel is not really a sign of mental illness. It's actually a healthy sign of how you are coping and dealing with such a screwed up world. Okay? And that's kind of what I get from Villagers. And it is fantastic music. And I have now several of the releases. He more often now has other musicians with him, but he plays everything. The group or the band Villagers really only initially came together when he would tour, so he needed other musicians because he can't. He plays all the instruments, for the recordings, but he needed a backing band when he would tour, and that became Villagers. But it's just really, really amazing. I'm really talking it up, but again, it's not. His voice isn't quite as difficult to take as perhaps Anthony Hegarty, but it's still a voice that in a delivery style that not necessarily a lot of people are gonna accept. I don't know how to say. Well, they're gonna reject it. That's what I mean. It's like I don't like the way he sings. That's what it's gonna come down to. But it's not something that really bothers me. I just find all the music really, really good. Awayland was like the second one, and that's a fantastic album. He has released several others, which I also have, that they're not as good as this one in Awayland, but I tell you, they're still really, really good releases. So, Villagers. And then there's this one here, and yeah, I was trying to remember, okay, how did I learn about Jake Bugg? And then I remembered, yes, I read a music review about him, but I can't remember where I read it. But they were talking about his debut album. And we're talking about someone who is a folk singer, a little bit country, but mostly folk. And he's from northern England, so he's got that really, really hard accent that you get from, when you're getting close to Scotland in that area. But you're still in England, and like around Newcastle and places like that. And I was listening to it online, and I just really, really, really liked it. This is a great debut album, and I have picked up all his other ones. I do think there's one more that he's released that I haven't got yet. And he's kind of been all over the place musically, because after this one, which is just such a solid, there were comparisons that were being made that he could be like a new Bob Dylan, or that he could be another, he was writing songs in the vein of Woody Guthrie, that kind of thing. And they really are really, really good songs. His second album, though, I think he kind of lost control to his producer, because it was really overproduced. It wasn't really, in fact, I think some of the songs were written for him, and the orchestration. It just, wasn't him. And then in his third album, he started getting control back over his writing. And by the fourth album, which is Hearts of Strain, I can't quite remember what it is, but I have that. I have all those albums up to that one, and it's a very focused album. They're all love songs, where either it's unrequited love or broken love, or it's still love that's going on. So it's a very well thematically, the album is put together well, and he definitely has taken creative control over his career, and that's a really Hearts of Strain, I think it's called, and that's a really, really good album, and it really comes up to the quality of this particular one as well. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him. He's played in Chicago, I think twice, but I've missed him both times. And some really great songs in here that are about, like, the streets of the cities there and what goes on. Some of the songs are a bit, they tell violent stories, but they're really, really good. So Jake Bugg. That was my gateway album and his debut, which, if I didn't say, Villagers Becoming a Jackal was 2010, and Jake Bugg's debut was 2012. Now, the next one is from 2013, and it's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. And this was my first album, Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, on this really very cool fluorescent psychedelic yellow wax. So how did I come about listening to King Gizzard? I was in a record store here in Chicago, and looking through their, what they had there, and they had a big section of King Gizzard, and I'm looking at all these records, a lot of records by King Gizzard. So I asked the person in the store, okay, so what record should I get? I've never really listened to King Gizzard. What would be a good record to pick as the first one? And that's when they were saying, well, geez, every record is so different. They really, they're, very fluid in terms of what they're doing. But they suggested this one is probably the most accessible. And so that's what I did. I picked it up and started listening to it, and I really, really, really liked it. But, King Gizzard's catalog is huge. And it's like, I started buying records. I've got several of their records. I kind of made a list of what were the ones that were had the best listener ratings to kind of focus my way in. And then they came to to Chicago. And they came to Chicago, and I didn't go to their show, but they recorded that show. They were here for 3 days at the Salt Shed, and they recorded the show, and they released it in a box set. And so I got that, and it's a limited edition box set, but if you see a box set from one of their shows and you look it up and it gets really good user reviews, I would pick that up. And that's probably all the King Gizzard you're going to need. You don't have to worry about trying to collect everything they've ever released, because it's a huge catalog. And like I say, this one here, I have 3 other of their album releases, but now that I have that box set, I'm not necessarily going to try and pick up anything else. And if they release some new material, then I would consider, getting those. All right, this will be a long video. Car Seat Headrest. This is Twin Fantasy from 2013. And this is another band that I stumbled upon, again, because of YouTube recommendations. And saw a video of Will Toledo playing Mdou Gone in one of those tiny desk concerts, that they do that you see on YouTube. And again, this was like, I was completely enthralled with the songwriting. Now, Will Toledo has a voice that a lot, some people just might not like. And he's also, the Car Seat Headrest is this indie rock band that, is very, very, very popular with young people. I mean, it really, really is. And again, they're one of my favorite bands out there right now, and I'd love to talk more about them here, but I've got plenty of videos about them that you can look up, on my channel, including a video about their newest album, The Scholars. So I'll leave that. But Twin Fantasy was the first album that I picked up by them, after listening to them with the different YouTube videos. And then I started getting their downloading their earlier releases that were pretty much all Will Toledo. He didn't have the band Car Seat Headrest until just before Twin Fantasy. But anyway, this was the gateway, and yes, I am a car seat headrest fan and collector since. I don't want to just breeze through the rest of them because I've spent so much time, but nonetheless, moving along, we have this one here, Khurangbin, The Universe Smiles Upon You, which was released in 2019. They're from Texas. Khurangbin is a Thai word for airplane. It's just a three-piece band. Very psychedelic, mostly instrumental. And the sound is so ethereal. And largely what they get is by recording in a barn. They have a barn in Texas that they go to, and that's where they record. I have seen them here in Tucson. I keep saying Tucson. I don't live in Tucson anymore. I saw them here in Chicago at the Salt Shed. Great show. Yeah, it's a very cool label that replicates the cover art. They have a lot of EPs, and I don't have all of those, but I have almost, I think, all of their official releases. And love their music, very atmospheric, really good music to just, sit down in a dark room and, imbibe in your substance of choice. And it's just wonderful music. Highly recommend them. Now this one here is another Japanese band, psychedelic band, and I think I heard of them from Steve Carlson first time. Not sure, but I think it might have been him. Or it was a situation where I was just browsing these random websites that sold records, because Guru Brain is the label, and they have a website, and the band is Kikaku Moyo. And this was my gateway, Masana Temples. Fantastic neo-psych, even old school psychedelic music. There are some, I guess you could call them vocals, but they're really vocalizations. It's not like you need to know Japanese, because a lot of what they are doing is they're just making sounds. These vocalizations that just fit in with the music. And it's just, they can go from hard psych rock to very smooth and ethereal psych music. It's just really wonderful music. I keep using these superlatives, but their ability to play is really quite incredible when you stop and think that they really didn't know anything about playing music when they got together. In fact, some of them, when they picked up a guitar to start creating songs, that was like the first time they'd ever picked up a guitar. So it wasn't like they were a bunch of musicians who had been playing for a long time and then met and got together to make a band. Rather, they got the idea of becoming a band despite the fact that they really didn't have any experience playing instruments. They got together anyway. And they learned fast, and they have some just really quite amazing. The guitar tone that they get at times is just really quite incredible. Real stank at times with the guitar. But then also, as I say, these very atmospheric and beautiful songs. Waking up in this beautiful natural area at dawn, and the music bringing in the feeling of experiencing the dawn in nature, and just really quite stunning at times. So, and the Guru Brain label specializes in psychedelic music from East Asia. So they have bands from Taiwan, from Hong Kong, and China, and South Korea, and Thailand, and besides Japan, on that label. And they generally have limited run editions, and so they sell out quickly. And they often have both the, on the black vinyl, but then also they have color variants. And so, if you like psych and neo-psych, then, and you see anything really from Guru Brain, it's worth the risk, in my opinion, to pick it up. Now this one is a Dutch band, mostly made up of Turkish immigrants, although it does have some native Dutch people in the band, and it's called Altın Gün, and the album is On. And I saw this at a record store, and I saw this cover, and I was like, yeah, this has got to be good music. Look at that cover. And it is good music. Much of it's sung in Turkish, and it's psychedelic music with, let me change that. The songs are mostly traditional Turkish folk songs, but they've been psychedelicized. And it's just really quite amazing. I've seen them in Chicago. Hey, I got it right this time. Saw them play here. And I can't remember the name of the instrument, but it's got like a bowl kind of body. It's a stringed instrument like a guitar, with like this, like a lute has, like the bowl body part, but a very long neck. And I can't remember how many strings it has, but that, and then there's another person who's playing electric guitar, and it's just wonderful, enthralling music. And it has that Middle Eastern Turkish flair to it, but it's also very, very psychedelic and wonderful. I have, again, I think I have almost all of their albums now. I'll have to check and see if they've released any recently that I need to find and pick up. But the band is Altın Gün, and they're from the Netherlands. Another band from the Netherlands, the Staat, and this is the album Bubblegum. Now, Altın Gün was from 2018. The Staat is, Kikaku Moyo was also from 2018. Khurangbin was 2015. I can't remember if I mentioned these. I probably did. Sorry for the repetition. The Staat, this one is from 2019. Not their first one, but I have the other albums, earlier albums. So I meet the requirement. I have 3 of their releases. Bubblegum, I heard about from a colleague of mine who was just telling me, she was saying that this is just, it's like her favorite band ever. And so I started listening to them online, and yeah, I really liked it. It was Bubblegum, most of the songs that I was listening to, in particular, Kitty Kitty. There was a video for that, and then there was also one for Pikachu, and this is a lenticular cover on this particular copy. And it's alternative rock, very strong, very powerful sound to it, and it lyrically it is what I call not quite nihilism. And but it's right up against it, and but I couldn't find anything here in the U.S. Every record store I went to, I would be asking, "Do you have any Staat? Who's Staat?" Oh no, don't have them. They check their catalog and whatever. So I'm like, well, gosh, how do I get any of their stuff? So I did. I went into Discogs and I ordered records of theirs from Germany. That was where I ended up getting them because the postage rate was the best with the German sellers. And that's when I got Bubblegum, and then I also got their first one, Machinery. I think it's their first one, but that's an early one. And then there's I.O., which is, you know, the I and the O for on and off that, you know, you see with a lot of computer gear. So those are the three I have, and they have, I think, 6 or 7 releases. And this one is, you know, Machinery is really good too. So is I.O. For that matter, they're really good. This is a rock solid album though. It's a double album, but it's 3 sides. And yeah, the Staat, wish they would come to the US and tour. Holy smokes, I am up to 51 minutes. I am so sorry that this video is so long. Man, if you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you. And because here's the last one I'm going to show you from 2019. This is Ilana the Creator, Mdou Maktar. And Mdou Maktar, in my opinion, is the greatest rock guitar player, greatest guitar player in the world right now, alive. He is phenomenal. Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, you know, all wrapped up into one. And they were his, you know, his influences, particularly Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix. He is, you know, from Northwest Africa, from Niger, and I've seen him 6 times, 7 times live here in Chicago. He likes playing Chicago. And I saw him once in Central Park in New York City at a free show. I tell you, man, you need to go see Mdou Maktar if you've never ever listened to him. You won't be disappointed. If he's playing a venue near you, go. Really, I can just about guarantee that you will thank me for recommending that you do that. And I heard about Mdou Maktar, I believe, from Steve Carlson. And it was about this record, Ilana the Creator. But I've got, again, almost his entire catalog. There's one album that I would like to get, but it's an expensive one that I'll probably have to order from Discogs because it's not a common record that you're going to find in any record store. But just, all right, we're at 53 minutes. Just remember, Mdou Maktar, you see a record by him, get it. And there you have the gateway albums of mine from the 21st century over the last 25 years. Oh my God, we're in the 25th year of the 21st century, 3 decades into the new century. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you're here at this point in time, I salute you. Leave a comment in the Down Under. I really enjoy getting those. And, you know, maybe there are some other musicians that you would like to recommend. I probably have heard them. I just don't meet the criteria of having at least 3 of their releases, and they have to have had at least 4 releases. So, yeah, plus they would have to be something that I would have discovered in the 2000s. You can also find me on Instagram as NewsDude76. That's NEWZDUDE76. It's where I post some videos mostly photography, music related, but a lot of other types of photography as well. I have a Facebook page called Kelvin Wazoo, where I post my videos from here, from YouTube, but I also post other music related videos and content that I find. I've recently started creating videos about books, so you'll see those show up from time to time on my channel here at Kelvin Wazoo. Remember to hit the like button. That really helps, not just me, but anybody, any creator on YouTube. Hitting the like button is a tremendous way to help a creator get their content distributed more widely. Subscribing is great. Love the subscriptions. But even if you're already subscribed, hitting the like button has a greater impact than even subscribing. And then last, I want to remind you to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.